Dear students, welcome and thank you for tuning in to another Statics and Dynamics video with me, Dr. Loay Al-Zube. We are continuing our discussion of equilibrium of a rigid body, which is chapter 5 in the textbook. And the problems that we're going to be, addressing, or the challenges we're going to be addressing in this lecture is how can we identify support reactions in 2D? In the previous lecture, we talked about the support reactions and the reactive forces in 2 dimensions. Now, how we can do this in 3 dimensions. We're going to learn this in this video, and also we're going to learn how to apply and solve the equations of equilibrium of a rigid body in 3 dimensions. We will start by constructing or building the free body diagram, and we will talk a little bit about the equations of equilibrium, and in another video, we're going to solve problems and examples of this. So what are the equilibrium? Also, there's another, we have 2 concepts we'd like to address and talk about in this video, which they are the constraints in three dimension for rigid bodies, as well as what is the concept of statistical determinacy in 3 dimensions. So if you're working in mechanical engineering or in civil engineering or any engineering discipline, you will be, encountering a lot of, bearings and mechanical structures, and they are in 3 dimensions and they're not in 2 dimensions. And we would like to be able to identify all the support reactions as well as the reactive forces created by these support reactions. So in this image that you're looking at, this is a bearing, and we have pins attached to it, and the question will come to us is how can we actually identify the reaction forces created by the bearings, the 2 bearings, in the attachment point. So in this point, also in the point in the other direction, this point on the other side, and this is another point. And these bearings are preventing translation, which is movement in the x-axis, right, in the y-axis, and the z-axis as well. So it's preventing translation as well as preventing rotation in multiple directions. So how can we determine these reactive forces? This is going to be the topic of today's video. So I will give you everything you need to know about how to identify support reaction in 3 dimensions, what are the reactive forces, and how can we construct the free body diagram of such systems in order to be able to construct the equations of equilibrium. So let's dig in. The applications, as I mentioned before, there are multiple applications in 3 dimensions or in machinery and mechanical systems. So this is on the left, and on your left you can see a picture of a ball and socket joint. It is attached, so it prevents that we have a prevention of translation in the x, right, and y and z directions, and also, but we are allowed to rotate. So how can we represent this support reaction in a free body diagram? Also, journal bearings, the one that we talked about earlier, are often used in mechanical systems. So when you design these joints or bearings, we need to identify 2 things. You need to first identify the support reaction, and 2, you need to identify the loads, which we call the reactive forces. And good engineers or engineering students are the ones who can identify any support reaction in any mechanical system, and can identify the loads, which are the reactive forces created by such support reactions. Alrighty, so there's an application. Another application that's important for us is also, if you look at this image in the screen, so to your left, you can see that we have a tie rod from point A here, right, this point, and also it's used to support the overhang at the entrance of a building, and it is pinned connected to the wall at A and to the center of the overhang at point B here at this point. So the question will come to us, what if we have moved this attachment? So if A is moved to a lower point position, let's say instead of having this tie rod, I'm going to make a decision to attach it here, and then I will have that rod attached to the point B from this location. So if you have it to the lower position, will the force in the rod, so I have, let's say, a tension here originally, I'll call it T initial, right? And then I have another tension here. So are those tensions the same or are different? I can, assure you they will be different. So in this case, by making such a change without understanding how much or what is the difference or the change in forces, failure might occur if we are selecting the wrong material for our tie rod. So this is another application that engineers need. Why do they need to be able to understand support reactions and be able to analyze static equilibrium for objects? I hope these two applications or examples show you the importance of working and analyzing a system or a rigid body at static equilibrium. So support reactions in 3 dimensions. As I mentioned in the previous lecture, we talked about support reactions in 2 dimensions, and I show you three common support reactions we used frequently in 2 dimensions. Now in 3 dimensions, I'm going to do the same. We have these 4 support reactions in the 3 dimensions that we are going to see frequently in our analysis. So you have the smooth surface support, you have a single journal bearing, and the ball and socket, as well as the single hinge. And those are a few examples, and if you want to look at the complete list of all available support reactions in 3 dimensions, you can go to table 5.2 in the textbook. It's in page 246 and 247. So how are we going? So we understand that these are going to be called support reactions. Now I would like to move from this to a 3-body diagram where I can locate the force. So this is the reactive force created by the smooth surface. So I'm going to replace or remove the surface of contact and replace it with a force, because the surface is preventing the translation of this object inward through the ground. If you have a ball and socket, this support reaction is preventing actually translation. So I have Fx, this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis, and this is the z-axis. So it's, as it's shown on the image here on the schematic, it's preventing translation. However, it allows for rotation because it's a ball and socket. So we don't have to add moments. And if you recall from the previous lecture, we said, as a general rule, if a support prevents translation, which is movement from in any direction of a body in a given direction, then a reaction or reactive force is going to be placed there and introduced. And similarly, if rotation is prevented, you need to add a couple moment on the body for your analysis. So I hope that's clear. So if you look at this example here for a single journal bearing, this is the bearing. So the bearing is preventing translation, which is movement in the x direction here and on the z direction, right? So it's preventing going up and preventing going in the x-axis. However, if in the y-axis, the rod inside the journal bearing can actually slide in it. So I can still move in the y-axis. That's why we don't have a reactive force there. When it comes to movement, we have 3 axes, right? So I have the y-axis, x-axis, that's x, that's y, I have z-axis. So the journal bearing, if I look at the y-axis, can this rod rotate around the y-axis? Actually, it can. So that's why we don't have a moment. But can this rod be rotating around the z-axis? That's possible because of the journal bearing, and that's why I have a moment here. And would this journal bearing allow rotation around the x-axis, right? No. So it's preventing the rotation in the x-axis. That's why I have to add a moment in the x-axis. That's why you have 2 forces and 2 reactive moments. 2 reactive forces and 2 coupled moments that are created because of the journal bearing. I hope that clarifies how we're looking at support reactions and how you should be thinking of what kind of forces or moments, reaction forces and couple moments are there because of these support reactions. And we will talk more when we solve problems in person and in the following videos. Okay, so let's talk about the equations of equilibrium. As we stated before, rigid bodies are different from particles. So in particles, you should be fine by just saying the summation of forces in all directions is equal to 0. In rigid bodies, you need to make sure that for equilibrium, the net forces and also the net moments should equal to 0 around a particular point or an arbitrary point. And in 3 dimensions, we know that we have an x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So I can translate these 2 equations into 6 scalar equations of equilibrium. And we can say the summation of forces in the x-axis equal to 0. So that's 1. Summation of forces of x-axis, y-axis equal to 0. That's 2, and so on. So I can say, well, these 2 here, if it's in 3 dimensions, I have to say summation of forces in the x equal to 0. That's 1. Summation of forces on the y equal to 0. That's 2. And summation of forces on the z equals to 0. That's my 3rd. Also, summation of moments around the x-axis should equal to 0. Summation of moments y should equal to 0. Summation of moments of the z equals to 0. And remember, we would like to select a point. So this is 4, 5, and that's 6. And we call these the 6 scalar equations of equilibrium. Note, the moment equation can be determined by about any point, but you should be careful, and the rule of thumb that usually you choose the point where the maximum number of unknowns forces are present or passing through that point. This will simplify the solution a lot. And I talked about this in the previous videos, and we will talk about it more when we solve problems and examples together. So, free body diagrams, constraints, and statistical determinacy. So here, I want to mention something quick. So we will start actually, usually, with a structure like this one here to your left. And you have, these rods, you have your external forces, acting forces, and then you have these support reactions. Your job is we want to see that, can you find the reactive forces and moments on a particular support reaction on point A or on point B. Before we do this, we have to construct the free body diagram for the structure. And if you go back to table 5.2, you know that if this is attached to the wall, I have to replace it with the 3 forces and 3 moments. And if I'm going to replace this journal bearing, I have to replace it with 2 forces, right? And moments. And so we're going to discuss this in more details when we solve problems, because each problem is different. But what I want to do here is just to remind you with how do we do a free body diagram. First, you need to isolate the body by drawing it, outline shapes, and take all the support reactions out. And you need to replace them with reactive forces or coupled moments. And you need to establish the x, y, and z coordinate system. What is your positive? What is your negative? And you need to put all the unknown components. And as a rule of thumb, we assume all, in the free body diagram, assume all unknowns going out in the positive direction of your assumed x, y, and z coordinate system. If they came out to be negative, it means that it's in the other direction. But we'll assume them going out in the positive. If you look at this point here, point B, we assume the BX is in the positive x-axis, BY in the positive y-axis, and BZ in the positive z-axis, and all the moments are counterclockwise, which means they're positive. So this is our assumption when you construct the free body diagram. Again, if the results show that they are negative, it means that they are in the other direction, and we can do this later at the end of them solving the problem. Now, we talked about free body diagram. Now I have to introduce something quick about the constraints and statistical determinacy. So to ensure that the equilibrium of rigid body, it's not only necessary to satisfy the equations of equilibrium, the 6 that we talked about, but the body must also be properly held or constrained by its supports. And that's especially important in 3 dimensions, and I will explain to you what does that mean. So in this problem here that we're looking at, if you do the analysis, you can see that we have something called redundant constraints, which means that this means that the body has more support than necessary. And this is a problem in design. You don't want to over-design something and create more supports that you need. So if we have more supports, then we have the system is called statically indeterminate, because I have a lot of unknowns and I have only 6 equations of equilibrium to construct. So if I have 7 or 8 or 9 unknowns, this means that I cannot solve the problem just by statics. If I need to go to the material properties or laws and formulas, and that's going to be the topic of another course. We would like to stick with the statics and dynamics. So a problem that is statically indeterminate has more unknowns than equations of equilibrium, and the structures, they're not used in practice, because if you have more supports than you need, it means that you are paying a lot of money that you should not be paying by adding more support reactions. So we should just use the minimal number of support reactions that needed to hold the structure in its place, if the calculations are all good and fine. That's why we don't use a lot of these statically indeterminate systems or designs. The last thing I want to show you, I told you before that we need to make sure that the body must also be properly held or constrained by its support to have a statistical to be statically at equilibrium. Here, if you look at this structure, you see that we have 6 unknowns, which means, well, I can construct 6 equations of equilibrium and everybody will be happy because of the ball and socket, the ball structure. And there's nothing, but however, there is nothing restricting the rotation around the AB axis, which means the summation of moments is not equal to 0, because this can rotate around the axis. So if you're pushing it here with this P force, there will be a moment and rotation around the AB axis, which means that the summation of moments is not equal to 0. So that's not a stable structure. And that's what I meant, that you need to have that the structure should be held properly by the constraints. Another example is this one to the left. In some cases, there might be the same number of unknowns reaction as there are equations of equilibrium. Again, but since this is a roller and you're pushing it with a force, it's going to be moving this way. So the summation of moments is not equal to 0. So we cannot actually say that this is a stable system. And it's very important in analyzing rigid bodies to make sure that you have a stable system as well as static equilibrium of the structure. I hope that this introduced to you the challenges and the applications and the processes and some important aspects of analyzing the equilibrium of rigid bodies in 3 dimensions. Thank you for watching, and till next video. Bye.